Welcome back to the Regional Geelong Football Show. And of course, this is the opportunity for the panel discussion, and we welcome Luke McCullough initially. And obviously, you had the opportunity to see a potential premier in action on the weekend in the Ballarat Footy League.
Yeah, it was great to see Amos have a really good win over Motowari. It sets up the season really well coming into the final week.
And obviously, a top of the table battle in the GDFL. Alex Tagani, you took great interest in a game that was perhaps decided by a greater margin than most people would have expected.
You're very accurate in saying that. We'll go through the stats, the players, and also the celebrities I spotted in the crowd.
And Josh Conway from the Geelong Footy League. An interesting game for you, but Colette just a little bit too strong against Newtown and Chilwell.
Yeah, Tigers just a little bit too strong for a very young Newtown side. Always plenty happening in GFL. It was a bit so good later on.
We will look forward to that discussion. Well, Alex Tagani, let's focus the attention on the GDFL. And clearly, as I made mention, it was a game that was separating two top sides, and separated it did.
Yeah, well, look, from round 1, 2016, right until this date, here on Channel 31 this Thursday evening, nothing has separated Belpost Hill, Inverleigh and Bannockburn throughout the home and away seasons. Each time one of them have played, the margin's never been more than 16 points. And then out of nowhere, just in the midfield, Caleb Basley, 3 goals at the end. Luke Turner, Nick Costello, fantastic in the second quarter. We've got 5 kids that want to be part of that premiership club. Then you've got guys on the sidelines, Travis Fursland, Benny Muir, Attila Sulix, who's the best on-ground medalist in a previous grand final, and Justin Tarr, how could I forget Tari, of course. So much is happening at Belpost Hill, and I'm going to mention a bit more about the game, but how good is this? We've got A-listers in the GDFL just walking their way up around Victoria Park. Of course, we saw our league's leading goal kicker, Jack Kennedy Hunt's bit injured. He had a look just to do some study. We saw the great Hannah Driscoll and Yuri, her photographer from the Weekly Times, all the way down, come to clash. And then, whereas you were just strapping your staff on the wing, he's the mayor of Bannockburn, but from what you saw, you enjoyed it?
Yeah, it was terrific to see the lead up to the game. I actually had to dash away before much of the action actually transpired, but it was, I was actually talking to Justin Tarr before the game, and there is one real cool cat. He's a really unflappable guy, and I think that's one of the keys to his success as a footballer and also a cricketer, the fact that he is just able to remain so composed in any sort of circumstance.
And again, I always admit I'm not the biggest cricket fanatic, but I also believe Shane Lima, there's another great example. He's played in the last 9 GDFL senior grand finals, and it's my understanding that every single pre-season is straight off the finals campaign. I believe he plays cricket for Bell Park.
He does now,
Yeah, so, and previous teams before. So just his endurance, I can't quite crack his age, but whatever it is, he's got the fountain of youth happening. But look, all seriousness with Belpost Hill, a lot of people still want to back Bannockburn and Inverleigh, but it's really hard not to go with the senior regulars on grand final day.
Well, other things that caught your attention across the course of the weekend, last weekend?
Yeah, look, it's Team of the Year time. Me and fellow other media panellists from our broadcast will start looking at who's worthy of selection. And of course, last year, our Team of the Year as a league was comprised of 22 players from the top 5 teams. Now we've got to start looking at the teams that aren't in our current top 5. And, you know, we've got a massive broadcast game, Thompson versus Geelong West, and you've got a guy like Braden Mitchell, only first or second year uni, and I would rate him as a 19, 20-year-old as the most reliable mark in our competition. I might have even said that last week, but I have a force of habit of repeating myself.
And other things to consider, I know you wanted to talk about Sunday football.
Yeah, well, you know, Belpost Hill and North Geelong, it was the modern rivalry. North Geelong stuck down, but then if you've seen them in recent weeks, I mean, we saw some fantastic footage on this program last week of them against North Geelong. James Chandler apparently got 22 disposals in one quarter last month. Derek Fitzsimmons, another one from the Fountain of Youth, he just keeps going. I reckon he's about 57 at this point. No, he's only 37 or 36, but I reckon he's wrapping up heaps, and James Chandler would have to be, you know, the Team of the Year shoe-in with Fitzsimmons next to him. Luke Parker, controversially shunned out of my Team of the Year because of his shin splints complaints, but the last 2 weeks he's brought it back. And who else have you got from North Geelong? Well, there'll be plenty of blokes to watch, but as for Belpost Hill, the blokes that might not have stepped up last week, like your Jake Barlows, I'll put the test to him on national TV, all right? If we can get 2,000 people through the gates on Sunday, because we won't be broadcasting, so you've got to be there. I reckon I'll cut off Jake Barlow's man bun. What do you reckon, Wes?
No, it's a mighty challenge. There's no doubt about that. The drawn grand final scenario, I know you wanted to address that.
Well, that's the talking point, isn't it? We had a drawn game in the reserves, Bannockburn, Belpost Hill, 9-6-60 each. And then in the seniors, East Geelong, they tried to snap that 5-game losing streak, and they were winning all day, but Matt Wallen said for Winchelsea, you know what, it's my mate Boz and Matheson's 200th game, I'm not going to let that happen. So he kicked the equalising goal. I'm used to saying winning goal, but the equalising goal. So now people have asked me, Mr. Tagani, what happens if we have a drawn grand final? I got onto Secretary of the League, Alan Moore, and we can confirm there'll just be extra time. So I know in 2004 when Corral and Werribee played in a drawn grand final, Werribee went on to win the following week, but not on this occasion. We will have extra time, Wes.
And just from anecdotal experience this year with you, how have crowds been across the games that you've seen?
Yeah, look, it's a funny one. I could say I was a bit disappointed with maybe some of the more suburban based. Obviously, our league is divided. If you had an All-Stars game, you could almost divide it by the bypass, those country district towns versus the suburban crowds. But in saying that, and Buzz, you've got the right of reply here, during my time in the GFL, I'll also concede that a lot of those suburban clubs, I don't want to name names, but those kind of in your northern, western suburbs of Geelong, even during their match of the days, it was hard for them to get a crowd. And the other thing was, you've got to consider, sometimes they might clash with the Geelong game. I know Corio and Belmont had a magnificent Wavarong ceremony for their Indigenous game, but that coincided with the only Sunday afternoon Geelong AFL game. So, again, you've got to be smart when you fixture these things, but overall, to answer your question, the country crowds, it doesn't matter if you've got struggling sides, they'll always bring in the crowds, and yeah, we hope to see a few more country games this home and away season.
And just in a nutshell, to wrap up the GDFL segment, you make mention of you wanting to rate players, and this is common to all of you guys, but just very quickly, do you get much feedback from the players? Is there any angst created by that?
Well, you know, apparently I'm shunned from the Rob Logue household, Grosdanowski's and Luke Parker, because they weren't in my top 20, but they were so close, each and every one of them. And I did justify blokes like Matt Tyquin and Nathan Mays, who have been under the injury cloud. But look, we do have an interview. I'm not sure if we're going to it now or later in the program, but one bloke that I cannot stop watching, Adrian Fantella for Belpost Hill. The last 4 games I've covered, he's averaged 27 disposals and 12 marks. So we might catch up his interview with Gravications later in the program.
Yeah, we will indeed. We'll take a break now. This is the Geelong Regional Footy Show. Hope you're enjoying the panel conversation. We'll be back with more on the other side of this sponsors break.